Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in third-party-ish Transformers. Today we're going to be taking a look at WeiJiang's Megamaster, which, truth be told, I was actually planning on taking my time with this guy because I wasn't in any rush to put a video out, but I kind of wanted to, not to get ahead of the curve because I know I'm already behind the curve, but because I just really like this guy and wanted to share that with you all. So, Megamaster is Masterpiece Megatron, basically, although in this case he's more of an oversized Masterpiece Megatron, and we'll get to the oversizedness a bit more in robot mode, but for now, as you can kind of see, I can't, my hands aren't tiny, they're not huge, but they're not tiny, and I cannot get a firm grip on this guy. I can just reach the trigger, but this is a very large gun. The grip on this is bigger and a bit more unwieldy than DX9's Supreme Leader Megatron. And because this thing is so large, it's going to be a little difficult to get too much detail in here. I'll go in close in a little bit, but yeah, it looks cool though. One of the reasons why I was really interested in Megamaster is because his gun mode, of all of the other Masterpiece Megatron alikes, and even the official one that I've seen, his struck me as one of the cleanest. It's arguable whether or not his gun mode is cleaner or the same in terms of not looking super panely as Megatron's, but I mean, this is definitely a cleaner gun mode than the official Masterpiece Megatron. As you can see, I also have the silencer, which is only available, I think, if you order from the first run of this figure, so that's another reason why I wanted to get this video out, is because this figure is so freaking cool. I figure if you're on the fence about this guy, then I want to, to let you know that I think he's really cool, because that little thing is so awesome, and we'll get to that later. Yeah, it's a convincing looking gun mode, aside from being cartoonishly huge. I mean, there is some paneliness with the silencer, and there is some other, you can see some of the seams around the gun mode, but overall I find it to be a lot more cohesive and clean than a lot of the other ones. Some interesting kind of mechanical detail in the stock there, which doesn't quite look realistic, but it's still interesting. And there's not a lot in terms of paint in the gun mode, just a little bit of silver there, a little bit of silver there. Most of it's just plastic, but I think that works. And on the other side, you can see it's a little less clean on this side, because this is where you have all the screw holes and stuff, but in terms of just general panel lining, it's still not bad looking. It's just, as I said, cartoonishly huge. How cartoonishly huge? Well, putting him next to Cybertron Optimus Prime in his full alt mode, that's with the trailer and everything attached, you can see that's large. And we're just getting started. And just for the sake of argument, there's the gun mode with a Titan's Return Deluxe and Samus. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try to transform this guy on camera. This is going to be difficult due to the unwieldiness of this guy. I want to be clear. I find the transformation fun and satisfying, especially because when you first get this guy, if you get this guy, a lot of the tolerances with the tabs and whatnot are kind of scary tight. But after transforming him a couple of times, things have loosened up a bit, and now everything is still secure, but it doesn't feel like I'm going to break it, which is good. But regardless, because of the nature of this guy's transformation, it's going to be difficult to do at arm's length. This is the kind of thing that you want to have sitting in your lap or on a table right in front of you while you're doing it. So I'm going to try my best to keep everything on camera, but my apologies if I screw up every now and then, because this is going to be an ordeal. So first we're going to take off the silencer and then pop off the scope. And while we're at it, just going to shrink the scope down a little bit. And I think that's going to do it, so let's see how this goes. Okay, I did it. I count this as a personal victory. It is freezing in our apartment. I am wearing a sweatshirt, and I'm honestly contemplating taking that sweatshirt off. So, Megamaster, he looks like Megatron, and I really, really like how this all comes together. As I said, the transformation is, it's an ordeal, especially if you're doing it at arm's length in front of a camera, but like, if it's just in your lap or on a desk right in front of you, it's fine to pull off. It's very intuitive once you learn the steps, and honestly, I enjoy doing it. There are a couple of points that are a little bit tricky, like pulling out the heels. The clips on those are still super duper tight, and it's a little bit tricky to figure out how to get the shoulders just right, but overall, it's a very straightforward transformation that results in a very nice looking Megatron. Like, he's just very clean all around. Spin him around here a little bit so you can see even the back. Like, even the back doesn't really have anything extraneous. The gun barrel's just there. The rest of the back is clean. There's actually some nice detailing too. Like, even just back there. Yeah, it's such a clean transformation, and I think it's really, really clever how the stock for the gun ends up folding up to like fill in the shins and calves and become the feet. That is really smart. I was a little worried that the feet might not quite look right, but no, I think they work really well as feet. Just the way that everything kind of accordions in a little bit, it works. And I also think it's really clever how certain elements are just spring-loaded, like the insides of the thighs here. So it collapses down in robot mode and then pops out to fill out the thighs. Or rather, it collapses down in gun mode and then pops out to fill out the thighs in robot mode. And I don't know if it's just the transformation or if they made any changes, but I remember watching a couple of videos of the early versions, like pre-release versions of this guy, and the thigh bits kind of cut off to the point where like there was a weird kind of size difference between the thighs and where the knees started. And here that doesn't seem to be a problem. So I think maybe what they did was they added just a little bit to the front of that thigh piece so that it looks like a more natural thigh when it's pushed out. It looks so good. It's such a clean and nice looking Megatron. There's no real cheating either. I mean, the back of the gun with like the hammer becomes his shoulders. The gun barrel, that's the legitimate gun barrel. The only difference, like the only, I guess, cheating bit of it is you can like rotate it to make sure that this is lined up properly. It's fantastic. And then taking a look at his robot mode a little bit closer, you can see a little bit of that molded and painted detail on the inside there. Even on the inside of the thighs, they painted the detail. That's really neat. A lot of molding and painting in there on the insides of the forearms. Of course, the belly section and the chest. And then that head is a Megatron head. I like it very much, and it's quite posable. Yeah, he looks fantastic. I mean, I do think it'd be cool if he were a bit more of a silvery color than this gray, but I mean, I can only imagine how expensive this would have been if they painted all of the gray bits silver. Plus, it would make transforming him a little bit scarier. And I suppose since we've got him in his robot mode, we should also do the laser beak thing. So and there we have a very nice little laser beak from a silencer. And yeah, he's not traditional Laserbeak dimensions and doesn't quite have the traditional Laserbeak look, but this still looks really nice, and it's still very much Laserbeak, like just a little red on the wings, that face. It's neat, and I like some of the liberties they took here, like these little jet turbine looking things on the backs of his wings. It's neat. Now, he can, of course, go on Megamaster's arm, so we'll just get him ready here. And this is really cool. There's a magnet in the base here and a magnet along the forearm here. So you just drop him on and he sticks. And that's really cool. And so there we have Megamaster with Laserbeak, and that looks fantastic, and it's how I intend to keep this guy displayed, because it's just really neat looking. And he's fun to mess with. He looks fantastic. I love how clean both of his modes are. However, the other reason I wanted to do this video, not just because I'm super excited with how cool this guy is and wanted to hopefully help people make a decision if they wanted to get in on this before the Laserbeak is taken out of the equation. Another thing to keep in mind is that this guy is very big. I knew he was bigger than the average Masterpiece. I knew he was basically an oversized Masterpiece Megatron, but I didn't realize just how big until I got him in hand. There he is with a Titan's Return. I'm sorry. There he is with the Titan's Return Titan Master. Oh, goodness. We're just going to keep going up the line, and we'll see where we end up. There he is with the Samus Amiibo. God. There he is with a Titan's Return Deluxe and a Titan's Return Voyager. Now, I don't have MP10 in hand right now, long story, but Masterpiece Soundwave is a pretty close approximation to his height, so yeah. There he is with Legends Ultra Magnus, with the Perfect Effect and the X2 Toys upgrade, so he's actually a little bit taller than he would be normally. And because I showed the vehicle mode, I felt compelled to show the robot mode, so here he is with Cybertron Optimus Prime in his big mode. Yeah. There he is with Hunt for the Decepticons Leader Class Starscream. There he is with another oversized WeiJiang glorious piece of plastic. That is Rensora, their oversized version of the Last Night Megatron. And this thing was cartoonishly huge on its own, but you can see he's bigger than that. Just in case I haven't beaten the point into the ground enough yet, here he is next to a Megazord. Here he is standing next to Unite Warriors Superion with the Perfect Effect feet and hands and head and chest upgrades. So basically, he's not only taller than a modern official combiner, he's taller than an official combiner with upgrades that make the combiner even taller. And lastly, because yes, we have come to the end, here he is next to Cybertron Primus. He is slightly taller than God. So, I hope that this kind of gets the point across to you all, that this guy is, if you think he's cool, I absolutely agree. He is definitely cool. He is supremely cool. Of the two Masterpiece Megatrons I've ever owned, counting him, because the other one was Mitron, he is my favorite. Based on all of the Masterpiece Megatrons I've seen, from Apollyon to Mitron to Despotron to the official Masterpiece Megatron, I still think he is the coolest. He looks great in both modes. His transformation is involved but very satisfying, and I actually enjoy doing it. Laserbeak is freaking cool. He's more than $100 less than the official Takara Masterpiece. It's almost a no-brainer, but I do think that his size is something to take into account. That's why I wanted to get this video out earlier rather than later, and that's why I wanted to do so many size comparisons, so that you could all see and hopefully understand that you need to devote shelf space to this guy. This isn't just like, okay, I'm going to push some things around and he'll fit. You have to make sure your shelves are tall enough. I cannot fit him on my Masterpiece shelf. I thought I'd be able to, but I cannot. And it's not the gun barrel. I've tried turning that gun barrel upside down, because you can do that. In that case, you only have to worry about his head. He is still too tall to fit on my Masterpiece shelf, even just by his head. The door that goes on that shelf just will not let him fit. If I wanted to get him on that shelf, I'd have to take the door off. And I'm not doing that because that shelf is within cat jumping distance. So yeah, basically I have to keep him on my combiner shelf because he's just too freaking big. But he's also really cool, so I don't want to get rid of him. I just think you all need to be aware. If you're interested in this guy, that's awesome. I absolutely recommend him. He is super great. He looks great, very clean, fun transformation. but he's stupid big. So it's just something to keep in mind. You know, if you want this guy, just please be aware of how absurdly big he is, because dang. Anyhow, I think that's enough ranting on the ridiculousness of WeiJiang's Megamaster. Very, very cool figure, very nicely done. I was a little bit worried about the QC on him because things were kind of scary to transform the first time, but once things started to loosen up, he's become a lot of fun. So also a thing to be aware of, because, you know, first time you get him, some of the pegs and stuff may be a little bit tricky, but just stick with it. Totally worth it. So what do you all think? In terms of design, I mean, do you agree that this is probably the cleanest Megatron in either mode that we've gotten? Do you prefer the official Takara Masterpiece Megatron, despite his super paneliness? Do you have an opinion one way or another about the gun stock turning into his shins and feet? And how do you feel about the size of this guy? I mean, seriously, I feel like if he was just a little bit smaller, he would be perfect. But he's just a little bit too big, a little unwieldy for me. But still, I'm curious to see what you all think, especially if you have this guy. I do think he's very awesome, but just so freaking big. Anyway, that is going to do it. So, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art of any size is more than meets the eye.